About to be live on Facebook. Error occurred. Let's try it again. It's saying I need to close Facebook, so. Oh, it says we're live. Well, we're not live on Facebook. Why is that? I don't know if it's because I went live somewhere else. Let me get out of this live. Facebook is not letting me go live. We're live on YouTube, though.
Nice.
I might have to post to Facebook separately. So let me just, since it's happy hour, I always factor in people are getting off of work or pretty much like doing whatever they do in between. So I never stress that part.
And the weather's so nice too, so people are just taking advantage of the summer.
Yeah, and they might be like out on a rooftop or something, which is fine, but that just means we end up talking and then I just tell people to go watch the broadcast again.
I love it.
And they can see us chatting and whatnot. My business partner, I sent the link to a few different people. So we might have Andrew Jackson join, who was on last week, I want to say. And he's talked about healthcare. I'm just trying to see if I can get on. It's scheduled, so I don't understand. Facebook changed so many things on me. So, hey, William, let me add you to the stream. Facebook is not letting me go live for whatever reason. So it looks like we're just going to be live. It's not 6:09.
How's everybody doing?
Go live.
My man, William, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing effervescent.
You said that the other day.
or exuberant. Is that a better word?
Whatever word you like. I never have a problem with it.
Eclectic. Which one?
All right.
They all work.
So, guys, I'm in with Sharbel and William, but you guys need to go to YouTube because Facebook, for whatever reason, is not letting me go live, even though I scheduled it. And I'm not savvy enough to fix that right now. So you can watch me solo, but you'll see everybody if you go to YouTube, which is where I want you guys anyway. So, so I said, I called up my friends, Sharbel and William, and I said, hey, can you join the podcast on July 12th? I asked them before 4th of July, because or around 4th of July, because I knew that we would all be busy. But Sharbel is someone I've known many, many years. I met him through someone who owned,
We go way back.
Yeah, we do go way back. Hey, Drew, I'm going to add Drew in a bit. So Drew, you're just hanging out in studio right now. But Sharbel and I met basically through my mom and one of her friends, but like family friends who owned a Harold's Chicken with a bar. And if you guys have watched the podcast, I attended Sneakerville 88's Sneaker Ball, and it was at a Harold's with a bar. So don't knock Harold's and find out what else they have going on. Like, you can have fun at Harold's. They have private spaces, and it may be affordable. I didn't ask. I was just there. So Sharbel and I go way back. I even reached out to him when he was with a different mortgage company because at that point, the market was, I think, tanking, but I had a personal issue that was going on and it was impacting me and my mortgage. So he gave me some great advice. William and I have known each other for a long time as well. He also met me during a transition and he was going through a transition himself and we caught each other up. And everybody's always going through a transition, right? So when it comes to real estate and people wanting to invest, I thought it was really important for us to have this podcast so that people could understand just because the market's doing what it's doing doesn't prevent you from investing in yourself and getting assets. Now, some people dispute that. And I like to be a renter. I'll be honest with you. I just called my landlord and said, hey, broke. Can you fix it or am I knocking it off my rent? So that was my approach. But Sharbel has a wealth of experience. He's very knowledgeable. If you go to his Instagram, you'll see he treats his clients right. Like they get their I can't even pronounce it, but they get champagne. Their closings are fun. My mortgage company that I went with, and Sharbel knows why, because I did reach out to him. It was an experience, and my daughter got to experience it, and I'll leave it at that. Now, William, he has always been a mover and shaker. He used to do a lot of event promotion. He's worked with Dion Branch. I'm not sure if he still does, but he also does real estate investing for himself here in Illinois, which is where I'm based, where Sharbel's based, where William has some roots here as well. And then he also does it out south. And William, you can jump in and share whatever else people need to know. Sharbel said he was going to trust my intro, but you know, I don't know everything. I know a few things, but not everything, you know.
First, nice meeting you, brother.
Likewise.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Nice speaking with you again, TeMeka. I think it's a great platform that you're doing, and keep going. Keep it up. All right.
And I got my happy hour drink, just so y'all know. I did say it was happy hour.
Doing the party.
I gotta grab mine. I got diaper duties after this. I
mean, you need. This has Red Bull in it. You know, caffeine keeps me going.
I second that.
So what's the so you want me to do an intro?
If you want to add on to your intro, and also you're welcome to make any happy hour recommendations and whatnot, because I used to bartend, so people may or may not know that. And the sucky part of me bartending at the bowling alley was I found out I was pregnant not long after I started. So I was that bartender that shouldn't be drinking. I was like, can it be the 1920s though? They were all right. Surgeon General makes recommendations, and medicine is a practice. I used to pill push. I know.
Good on TeMeka. Well, I'm William Hicks. I'm the owner, founder of Hicks Real Estate Investments, the HRE Foundation, and WH Productions. So I have a few things that I'm involved in. But when it comes to real estate, I started in Illinois, in Algonquin. When the market was bad, the market was bad back in 2015, and I was able to get lucky. I ain't gonna say lucky, blessed. Thank to the grace of God. And I purchased my first investment property, and I had a rental property in Alabama, and I just studied the market back in 2018 while I was on bed rest when I injured myself in the military. And while I was on bed rest, I just studied the market and studied and watched every episode of HGTV for like 6 months straight, and YouTube. And I just figured out the game just laying on my back because I couldn't move because my leg was messed up. And I figured out a system here in Birmingham. Plus, I'm a construction engineer by trade, so I know how to put houses back together. I went to school for it, and it was interesting. And so I took a leap of faith, took the money I made from the house from Illinois. The house, I think I paid $242,000 for it in a $430,000 market. Took that money, took it down here to Birmingham, took that money and bought multiple properties because the properties out here are a little cheaper. And then I just did the Bird method: buy, renovate, refinance, restart, and keep going. And it's been working.
Awesome.
And ever since then, it's just been working.
So Sharbel is in the mortgage industry, and I didn't say he's with Guaranteed Rate now. So let me add us back in so everybody can see us. But I did send you guys a few questions, but honestly, I make this a conversational format, and the market, I think a lot of people know it's a seller's market, but that doesn't necessarily mean that buyers aren't out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Sharbel, given your background, what would you say people need to know about where the mortgage industry is, whether you're a seller or a buyer?
And it's funny you say it's a seller's market. I spoke to a few different realtors today, and we're starting to see it swing into a buyer's market.
Yay.
I know,
For
about
me.
time. I know, trust me. Especially in the city, certain properties, especially luxury, you're seeing stuff sit. So for the first time in a while in the Chicago market, in the north suburbs, south suburbs, western suburbs, we're starting to see people put offers in less than purchase price. Whereas in the last 6 to 8 months, everything was like 20, 30, 50, even 100,000 over asking price, which was crazy. So it's starting to see with inflation and with everything increasing interest rates, we're starting to see things swing over to the buyer side.
Okay. And I guess I didn't share, I'm a homeowner currently. I was previously renting while I was in family court. To show stability as a parent, my mom did assist me in purchasing a home, but I've been a homeowner before, so this is my second home. Now, we have a couple guests in our studio. So Drew had to turn his camera off, but Tai Tai and Drew, are you guys ready? Do you want to come on camera? Tai Tai says no. Drew, did you want to come on camera? Because I know you and I talked about some investments you did a few years back that didn't end up working out. So I don't know if you want to jump in, ask any questions, share your knowledge as well. I can't hear you, Drew. I'm going to add you to the stream. So welcome, Drew. Drew was on last week, I want to say, right, Drew? We talked about healthcare and also really the Great Resignation and how it impacted mental health.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Now I can. Yep.
All right. Hey, everybody, how you doing?
What's going on, Drew? Brother? How you doing? Respect.
Yeah, doing all right. Yeah, so I was just listening in on some of your backgrounds, and I'm curious to know a little bit more about how the market is. You said you're starting to see more buyers kind of surface in the luxury area. How do you think, just from your experience, how do you think that's going to impact like commercial real estate? Because it looks like commercial real estate is on the verge of collapse, right? Just because of the pandemic, everything that happened. A lot of people are working from home now. I don't foresee the commercial real estate industry returning. It feels like it's still a seller's market. I think that will likely continue, depending on what direction we go in. I think I would err on the side of caution from purchasing right now, only because you don't want to buy necessarily at the top of the market, right? And then have it retract and then be upside down in equity. That's like the worst situation to be in. So, I know a few people that have bought recently. I'm not sure if that's the best approach. So what would you recommend as far as timeline? Would you say now, a year from now would be a good time to start to invest in the real estate? Would you say, 3 years from now, when would be an ideal time to start to really get aggressive on investing?
I've been doing real estate and I've been doing mortgages for 18 years. So I've been through the first crash in 07, 08. And that's a great question. I mean, it's all timing people's lives. I tell people, if you have patience and you're not in no rush, in Chicago market, the hottest time to get the best deal is the winter time, because no one likes moving in November, December, January.
I moved in January. I can attest to that. I shouldn't say I moved in January. I bought in January. My closing date, just to jump in, was New Year's Eve 2019, right before the pandemic hit. And my plan was to move in March, in the spring, which I did, and caught strep throat because I was working so hard to move myself and my kids, because with the pandemic, I couldn't get help. Like it was too hard to really. I did get some help, but it was rough.
Yeah. So which is tough, like wintertime, no one likes moving. But to be honest with you, everyone's life is different. There's people moving to Chicago, there's people leaving Chicago. So some people have no choice. Their lease is up and they don't want to do a short-term lease. So unfortunately, I'm getting a lot of people buying in June, July, and August. Will we see a depreciation? There's no guarantee. But if you ask me, if you're patient and if you're willing to wait, winter's the best time to buy.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Anything you want to add, William, since you're our other featured expert?
It's interesting y'all say that. What's happening right now, from what I'm seeing, I don't know what age group everyone was born in or is born in.
You're
we're
the
in
youngest. You're the
I'm the
baby.
youngest. Okay. So I'm in the millennial generation, right?
He made me feel like a cougar, y'all.
You are.
Hey, I'll be that. I've got the MILF designation. I've got them all. I'm like, are these good things, y'all?
I was doing some data. The millennial generation from 1981 to 1996 are now starting to become entrepreneurs, business owners, and they're starting to become investors and people that are trying to buy homes because home ownership is important. And a lot of the baby boomer generation from the 1940s to the 1960s and the Generation X from 1960 to 1980, they're starting to die out. And
are
our
they
generation,
dying out or giving their assets to others to manage?
I was just about to say that they're passing down generational wealth or generational assets. And I'm seeing a lot of it, especially down here in the South, because the South is really ran by, I hate to say it like this, white America, but it's the truth. They own most of the South. I mean, you got to look at the Confederate versus, you know what I'm saying? The North and the South, you got to look at it from that perspective. And they own a lot of land out here. And God is not making no more land. And that's something we got to pay attention to. So as African Americans in our generational group, we have to start buying as much as we can because
But Sharbel is, you're Middle Eastern, right? I want to say Lebanon, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Chicago. My mom is from Lebanon. My dad's from Iraq. So 100% Middle Eastern.
Okay.
Okay.
But I also would say, if you think back to when you were in elementary school and you learned about when the Asians migrated and everything, we're all connected. And I feel like people forget that. I used to work for the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, and William hooked me up with that job, actually. And I remember being in the phone bank and telling people I'm Switzerland when I'm on the phone because my job was to connect people for the Dreamers. So if you don't know what Dreamers is, it's the act for undocumented people to get their citizenship because their parents brought them here, right? And the act passed, but my job was to get representatives, Congress people, senators. We had 2 minutes to get people to agree to let us connect them to their legislators, right? And every time I talk to people, the hardest ones for some of my colleagues would be the ones that were really adamant about go back home. And I was like, I was born here. What do you mean? I'm first generation Filipina American. And I couldn't tell you where in my African American roots I fall. However, I was born here. So why do you keep telling me to go home when I'm home? And you took over? Because if you ask me, the Mexicans own all of California. They own Arizona and those places. So it was a matter of how can I get them to think differently in 2 minutes? Okay. And I was trying to hide. William knows I was trying to chillax. I had left investment banking. I had called off a wedding engagement. And my whole thing was, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm saying. I went to Duke. I brought the Duke diploma out for y'all to see, because I didn't talk about my credentials, because you got to go review some of the LITE Firestarters podcasts to see when I share my credentials. But I will say I had a Series 7 and 63. I did work in investment banking. I recently took the property and casualty pre-certification class, and I should be taking the tests to get my licensing again once I figure out who's going to sponsor me and whatnot. But all this to say, I'm knowledgeable, and they saw that at ICER and were like, TeMeka, can you be supervisor? Because Adriana's leaving, the Mexican supervisor at the time, who was going to switch to something else. And she's like, TeMeka, I want you to be the next person. I was like, why? I don't want to be in charge of these churns that are on these phones. And there was one other person, Javi. I love him. He was also, more seasoned than some of the people we worked with. And I hired some of my cousins who were Filipino. But I didn't like to get up early. Let me just tell y'all that. And I also was like, this is a lot for people to learn. And I bring all this up to say, in America, people hold these Puritan ideals because, like William said, white America, Caucasian America, whatever you want to call them, feel very invested. I'm going to put it that way. Very invested in what happens in America. And we're also invested. We worked really hard, whether you're talking about the Japanese who built the railroad, whether you're talking about Filipino Americans who work in healthcare as doctors, as nurses. If you're talking about, we get taught to be doctors, nurses, or lawyers. And I clearly am an anomaly, because I was like, I don't want to do that, but I'll pill push, which I did for a little bit. So everything William's saying is valid. However, there's a shift going on, and it's clear that there's a shift going on. And I think everyone's trying to deal with their discomfort in this pandemic, that we've had to realize that everything we believe is changing. So I'll leave it at that, because I said a lot, and you guys can piggyback off of that. There was something else William had said that I wanted to respond to, but it was early on in what he was saying, so I have to let that go. But I think that just given the wealth of information we have among all of us, we have a lot we could talk about today. So I'll leave it at that.
So I have a question, I guess, for both. Would you say, just from your experience, a better opportunity just for the average person getting into real estate? Is it better to, would you say it's better to get into more real estate flipping of properties, or more term, long investment, passive income strategy?
Who are you asking this to?
Either one.
I mean, honestly, you invest where you have the money for it, but I would defer to Sharbel and William.
Sharbel, you can go with the financial perspective.
I appreciate it.
I'll go from the investment perspective. So it's up to you.
You know, if you're patient, one of my true success stories, one of my best friends was a single guy, and this was like 15 years ago, maybe 15, 12 years ago. He was a single guy in his mid-20s, and he bought a 4-unit building in River West near downtown Chicago. And he bought it for like $670,000, and he went FHA and put down 3.5%. Lived in 1 unit, and little by little spent $15, $20 rehabbing each unit. Got married, had 2 kids, lived in the top floor, and was living for free because he improved every unit, increased the rents. And then after having these 2 kids, he decided it was time for him to go get a house and live in the suburbs. And now lives in the suburbs and lives for free because his rent covers his house in the suburbs. And that's a great example, but not everyone wants a building. But if you're patient, you don't mind being a landlord, and you do not mind working with contractors or property managers, I would go the route of buying a multi-unit and use FHA and put down 3.5%.
I think I'm gonna piggyback off of that. A lot of people don't understand, And TeMeka, you get one of my free classes. I normally charge for this, but a lot of people don't understand zoning. If you're zoned, if
Thank
you
you,
don't understand,
William. I feel so loved.
you're welcome. A lot of people don't understand zoning, and they don't understand labor. They don't understand material costs. They don't understand the sweat. People don't understand sweat, sewage, water, electricity, academics, trash, plumbing, roofing, electrical, and then landscaping. They don't understand that method. If you don't understand the method, you're not going to be successful. And a lot of people try to jump into this game, but like what you're saying is the short term investment will make sense in the long term. It makes sense if you understand it, if you're an investor. But if you're like a realtor, or if you're a mortgage broker, or if you're a realtor, a mortgage broker, it's like you just getting a quick check. But for the investor, it's a long-term investment because you're taking that sacrifice right now. But if you don't understand the methodology behind it, you're not going to be able to be successful in the long run. But I agree with you. I sure do. It's the
You
long-term
agree with
investment.
what part of the long-term investment? So I will say, Drew, from my perspective as a parent who was in court, right? My whole plan was go ahead, buy this 4-bedroom, 3-bath condo that was owned by a church that wasn't paying taxes. Know that Airbnb is not allowed. Know that I'm by 2 schools. I'm by IIT and Illinois College of Optometry. I could
They don't
have a
have. You can't do Airbnb in Illinois.
It's
I'm
a
sorry,
condo.
Nicole.
It's a
Oh, okay.
condo. So you have to read your bylaws, and my bylaws do not allow transients. So for those
See, in
that don't,
Alabama, we don't have HOAs in bylaws.
so transients, for
That's
those who
interesting.
don't understand, is basically like you don't want to end up with squatters or people who try to take over your property and say they can stay there indefinitely. And you have to know the state laws to William's point. So
That's
my whole
interesting.
plan was I'm showing stability because I'm an owner of a home. I have equity in my home because I bought my home for $310,000. They were trying to sell it for, I want to say originally $350,000. It probably went down to $335,000. And I said, I'll pay $310,000. And I got it because it had been on the market for like a couple years. And you'll see if you watch the real estate market, it was coming on and off, right? And because of my background, I can tell certain things are happening. And I said, and Drew and I had this conversation. I was like, ooh, I love that this basement has carpeting. Most people don't like carpeting. I get cold easily. In the summer, this is where we'll be. It's our family room. But to get back to being able to have someone pay for you to live in your own home, I can rent out that room to a grad student, preferably, possibly an undergrad, and defray some of my costs. And then because I have 2 children, I asked my kids where did they want their rooms. They themselves chose the 2 bedrooms in the lower level, right? So that was what I wanted them to do, so that I, as a parent, could say, this person's only on this level. I really don't want them downstairs because to protect them, if I'm not around or whatever the case may be, I just didn't want like a nanny cam or any weird, funny business because the world's gone a little nuts. So a little ape shit to make it be Jay-Z and Beyonce reference or whatever you want to call it. And so my whole thought was, if I can clear this 4th bedroom, which I currently use as an office / storage, and turn it into a guest room or a potential rental space, then I could potentially create some income that will defray the costs that were variable for me with court. And that was what was really creating a lot of stress for me, is that I had fixed costs, but my variable costs, I had no clue how many thousands of dollars I was going to spend in court. So that's my perspective on it.
You got to offset everything without making your numbers look high.
Yeah, and everyone's different, guys, too. Like I got a client right now. He works in the Loop, downtown Chicago, and he doesn't own a car. And he thought about the building, but he's like, I don't want to be a landlord. He's like, I want a simple studio condo. I want to walk to work. I want to go to a dog park down the street. It's like the way of life. And he's not viewing his property as an investment. but he is buying something below his means and trying to pay it off because God forbid if he gets let go, he knows he could rent it out and that rent will cover his mortgage. So
That's
it's
correct.
like yes and no, he's not looking at his investment, but he is because he's getting something so small that if he does lose his job, he knows he could rent it out and still be okay.
So I want to ask you, is that person someone who's native to America, or are they an immigrant who's on a visa?
No, you know what? He's first generation, born here, but family from back home, and just taught him, the less debt, the better.
And I feel like I have this extra insight because being half Filipino, Filipinos go home.
You ain't Filipino, you black.
I'm also black. I'm black and yellow all day. Black and yellow. Hey, people believe in that one drop rule. I'd be like, let me rep my Asians, okay? Sometimes I am quiet, contrary to popular belief. I do know how to be quiet on occasion. Not always, but sometimes.
That's the black side.
But what'd you say?
That's the black side. I'm joking.
But I asked that only
facetious.
because it's interesting to see how people approach it, and they're influenced by who they were raised by and how knowledgeable the people in their family were about finances. So for anyone that knows, like the person I most recently dated, come to find out they didn't have any retirement funds. They didn't have a 401k. They didn't have an IRA. And I was just like, how do you own a business and you have a job and no one told you to go get an IRA and a 401k or a Roth, any of that? So when it comes to real estate and investing, it's also like, what is your financial IQ? In Chicago, do you attend Money Smart Week? Did you do Junior Achievement? These are things I did that also taught me more about banking and money and not just leaving stuff in the piggy bank or under your mattress. And not everyone understands the next steps. So, and I'd also like to add the FIRE movement. Do all y'all familiar with the FIRE movement?
No, I'm not.
It's where you retire early. You live below your means, to what Sharbel was talking about, and you're trying to retire at 40. Like if you're in your 20s, you're trying to retire at 40. There's a person I follow, Onika the Traveler. She's been featured on so many places. She met a man like in Germany or somewhere abroad. She's originally Caribbean background, but I think American born. And her husband are part of the FIRE movement, but she full-time blogs about traveling. And she was originally a teacher internationally. So there's like to Sharbel's point, there's a lot of different ways to approach it, your investment style. And like I was saying before, you tailor it to what works for your finances. Like I said, I had a lot of variable costs and I had to rethink how I was going to go about my own finances.
And one thing, though, guys, real estate long-term always wins. Yes, like right now, are we
even
buying
stocks,
at a
long-term
high?
always wins.
What was that?
For stocks, long-term always wins as well.
Yeah, exactly. With investments,
Well,
anything
depends on stocks. Depends on the market. The Dow can go up and down. It just, you know what I'm saying? It just depends. I was looking at something. I didn't mean to cut you off, by the way, brother.
No.
Look at something. Rick Ross said something on the 85 South show a couple of weeks ago, and he was telling us like, why didn't you say? I'm gonna say us because we're all in the same category. He's like, he's never lost in real estate. He's always lost in every other investment.
Well, but Tony Robbins talks about. I got a few of Tony.
But
Robbins.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry about that.
No, Sharbel. We'll go back to Sharbel. Go ahead, Sharbel. Go.
No, I was just saying long term, like stocks, real estate, and I agree with real estate. Almost doing this for 20 years. I got a lot of older mentors that have been yelling at me for years to saying buy buildings, and these are people that came to this country with peanuts in their pocket, and now they're multi-millionaires that own city blocks. I knew,
but they don't know how to put them back together. That's the thing. So it's like you got to have a partnership. You can buy as much as you want and spend as much money as you want, but if you don't know how to put it back together, it doesn't make sense. That means you got to invest. So that means you got to invest in the person that knows how to put it back together. So it's like you got to have a good partnership. Because you can have money, but if you can't put it back together, it's not going to make sense.
Yeah, you surround yourself with the right team,
Mm-hmm.
and you can make anything happen.
A village.
Exactly.
They always say you got to have a village. So, guys, we're 34 minutes in. And so part of the format here is we have to have a commercial break. And the commercial break is to remind y'all to like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell. And as my children say, you must purchase merch. So I do have merch on Instagram, and I believe you can get it on Facebook. I showed it last week, but I have ladies t-shirts right now, but I will be at the Silver Room Sound System block party this weekend. We'll be selling the Bluetooth headsets because we'll be showing a lot of the podcasts, including tonight's podcast there. But if you don't already, or you're like me and lose AirPods, yeah, that's what they're called, AirPods. I was like, the thing for iPhone. Then we can hook you up so you can make sure to listen in. But we're just gonna be chilling. I'm gonna make it comfy and fun to sit and hang out with me. So y'all know, if you're in Chicago this weekend, feel free to hit me up. I'm talking about the people in the studio, not everybody else. Because I did find out how much I would get ticket wise. Kids are free under 13. And I think it starts at 12 and goes till 9, but you can go to the Silver Room block parties, Instagram and stuff. I put money down today, so I'll have to follow up with the people who are going to start promoting and adding me on all the socials and whatnot. But just so you guys know, that's my little commercial break for Love Inspire Teach E. The people we have featured here, like you've already heard, Sharbel's with Guaranteed Rate. You can see it on his shirt. William, you can go to his Instagram. Drew, like I said, he's been featured before, but he works in healthcare. But obviously, we all have these interests because we want to create things that Williams mentioned, generational wealth. We're trying to break cycles, create legacies, and make our mark in America. And that's what makes America so great. So that's my little commercial break. I normally do a nonprofit feature. I'm going to defer to anyone here who has a nonprofit they want to feature, because I just found out I didn't get the fellowship I've been promoting. So I'm a little sad about that.
You got a nonprofit you want to promote?
I sit on the board of Immerman Angels, guys. It's a one-on-one consulting. Anyone going through cancer, just
spell it
one-on-one
out for me.
consulting.
I'll put it in the comments.
So, you want me to text it?
You can, or you can, if you can go in the comments later and just drop it in the comments.
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Awesome that you're on the board. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, they do a great job.
Yeah.
So they do what now?
It's just one-on-one cancer support. Anyone that's going through cancer, a lot of people have family or friends that are supporting them, but they connect you with somebody that is actually going through the same type of cancer. Like if a woman that's in her mid-30s just had her first kid and she's going through breast cancer, they'll connect somebody with that same age that fought breast cancer that has kids. So someone that could understand exactly what you're going through.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
congratulations, man.
Thank you. Founded in Chicago. It's the biggest one-on-one cancer support in the entire country.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to share that and make people aware. I had someone on here a few weeks back who's here from, I want to say Nigeria, but I actually think that's wrong. But he's from Africa and he's here for med school, but he created, I think it's a nursing home or a hospital, and he's here to get his doctorate so he can go back or do what he's doing here. But he left something behind in Africa to support for those that need healthcare. So in this pandemic world, we are really learning that mental health advocacy is key. For those that have watched and known me long enough, I'm a rape survivor. I'm a domestic violence survivor. I go to therapy. I'm not reluctant to talk about those experiences anymore. I was at some point in time, but because I've learned that we need one-on-one support, to Sharbel's point. Those are really heavy issues to deal with on your own. I know that Drew and I touched on it last week. And it's time to make it okay to cry sometimes and let that release out. I mean, people talk when my dad, so everyone here knows my dad works for the Chicago White Sox, but when he was on TV for Comcast Sportsnet way back when I was a kid, he would talk with his hands and they'd say he's like an Italian and he's so emotional or whatever. And he's very passionate. And I value the fact that in Italy, men are permitted to show their emotions. And I feel in this country, that is not necessarily the case. And I think that needs to change. So thank you for sharing that, Sharbel. We can get back to the real estate discussion, but we had to get a little commercial break in and break it up. Do a little cheers, because a lot of people say, TeMeka, your podcast is like, you say it's happy hour, but everyone's so serious, and I'm like, that's not my fault. I'm fun and fabulous. I don't know. So where do you want to take it from here? I can pull up the questions that we had, but if anyone has any direction they feel is pressing or that we should go, just let me know.
You know, one of the questions. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
You said you asked about the foundations.
Who I did?
Sure. Yeah, Sharbel told his foundation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Drew had a chance if he had one, and then I was going to talk about mine, but you asked about the foundations first.
Drew, did you have any nonprofit you wanted to promote?
No, not right now.
Okay, go ahead, William.
So I have a foundation, the HRE Foundation, Hicks Real Estate, and we revitalize urban communities one home at a time, so we can stay on the topic of real estate. And I am the Black D.R. Horton.
I love it.
I put people in affordable housing.
Awesome.
And that's the purpose of the HRE Foundation. And
awesome.
That's the purpose of my foundation. So, but yeah, I wanted to stay on that topic so we can go.
Yeah, and make sure you put it in the comments section or send it to me so that I can add it later for anyone that comes back to YouTube to watch the replay. Because we're 42 minutes in. We just got someone who jumped in. Welcome. We appreciate you. But as I told Sharbel, if you caught the early on session, we were in studio and just chatting. And I was telling him people might be out on the rooftops. People might be just getting off of work. But yeah. So I think Sharbel, you were up again. You had.
I was just gonna answer one of the questions, TeMeka, that you were mentioning. You know, how's the mortgage industry reacting to the pandemic? You know, when everything shut down back in March, you know, on the lending side, we really didn't know what to expect, and unfortunately, a lot of the self-employed people that had businesses that were shut down, they weren't able to qualify because there was no income coming in. So since the pandemic, you know, where a lot of people in the entertainment, restaurants, you know, just showing the stability of your getting a check, you know, for 3 or 6 months or 9 months that's what majority of lenders are looking for, just showing more stability and showing more consistency. And hopefully we don't experience another shutdown, but it was pretty tough during the start of the pandemic.
Agreed. The start of the pandemic is when I bought all these cool things that were on sale, and people would get on me. I'm like, I'm stimulating the economy. I'm an econ major. I like to, my retail therapy is helping me cope with, I have the most difficult customers. At that time, I was in telecommunications. Everybody needed internet. Everybody was starting to figure out work from home. Or if you were like me and you always work remotely, usually from my car, and I was now working remotely from my home. And so that people understand, when I worked in telecommunications, I worked with property managers. I worked with communities, MDU communities, multi-dwelling unit communities of 75 units or higher. So I've always kind of had experiences that tied into these things that I talk about. So I have a lot of friends that are property managers, and you'll find that some property managers moonlight. Remember moonlighting with Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd, I want to say her name was. I don't remember what Sybil's last name was. That's just me being a nerd and talking about old TV shows. But they moonlight property management and work in real estate. So you'll find that a lot of people kind of double dip, and there's nothing wrong with that. For me, starting this company, I chose to start Love Inspire Teach E because I wanted to do consulting, because I've worked in healthcare, I've worked in telecommunications, I've worked in finance, and I understand some things, not all, but I have a network that I can share with others, have them on the podcast, and have them really help other people that need to build a business. And you'll find that the great resignation that Drew and I talked about last week, a lot of people are tired of being overworked, underpaid, and want to work for themselves, but they don't understand you're going to be a slave driver to yourself the way your boss was a slave driver to you. Because to Sharbel's point, that 3-6 months of income is critical.
It's deep.
So,
I agree.
Yeah. Ty, you're awfully quiet. Are you sure you don't want to? You can speak without coming on camera. I can do it that way. I think she's just listening in now. So we'd love, like I said, if you guys comment, we can answer that. I have people on, I've got engagement on the Instagram behind the scenes right now. My Facebook private group for podcast with the CEO. There's not engagement this week, but there was when I was at Windy City Cigar Lounge. But you'll see I go across multiple platforms, and my client that I'm waiting on paperwork for, he wants me to manage his social media marketing. And I will say that the people we have in this room, with the exception of Drew, not to call you out, but call you out, have amazing social media handles and are very adept at working the technology. Sharbel has always been very active on, I want to say, Facebook and Instagram, but we all kind of like gravitate towards what's hot. And what's hot right now, honestly, is TikTok. Snapchat was cool until Facebook was like, oh no. And Instagram was like, oh no, you're not good. This 24-hour thing, we can do that. So you'll see there's shifts in how you can leverage social media. But I was talking with my business partner, Juana, and she was saying, TeMeka, YouTube is fine for you in podcasting. She used to podcast, I want to say she said like the radio spot, but you can podcast Apple, Spotify, all those different platforms, but you pay into those. So for me, and being early on in my podcasting, this is episode 13, lucky number 13, guys. I'm like free 99 all day. So I just want to throw that out there. We've touched on, as far as the real estate market, what people need to understand as it relates to the pandemic, what people need to understand long-term, short-term. And then even from the family perspective, I know I've talked about that. What other things do you think I've forgotten, or do you think we need to touch on, guys? I think the quality of your network. That's the other thing. So, like I said,
there's a foreclosure coming. There's a lot of foreclosures coming.
You think so? You see it?
Yeah, it's coming.
So why do you think that's happening, or about to happen?
Pandemic and funding from mortgage companies. So people that have properties can't afford because they were out of work and they were put on short reserves. And so now people can't afford to keep up with the mortgages they had from years ago. I'm seeing it now. I just bought 4 foreclosures myself. It's about to happen. It's a bunch of foreclosures coming.
Yeah,
that's what
I can contest to that, William. I agree. I think it depends on the market. I know on the lending side, when everything crashed in 2008, there was the subprime. People were qualifying, and they were really not qualified. Whereas this time, people are qualified. However, there's a lot of people that lost their jobs during the pandemic, and mortgage companies gave them relief 6 months, 1 year, 3 months. And now
them stimulus checks didn't last.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to last forever. So I don't think it's going to be nowhere near what happened in 08 and 09, but we'll see it. It comes with any kind of major incident in our lives. The pandemic, I didn't even know the definition of pandemic until it happened. I'm like, what? We're in a pandemic? I said, this is crazy. And
Well,
I told my wife it won't last 60, 90 days. And we're here 2 years out and we're still talking about a pandemic.
and they're saying the variant has changed too.
I just bought 3 foreclosures in the last 4 months in Birmingham.
I have to say again, it speaks to like the strength of your village and your network and who you can tap into. So for me,
it's not about that. It's not about that.
You don't
when
think
it comes
so?
to foreclosures, it comes to banks and financing. Banks
Right,
and
but
who has the capital.
When I mentioned that Sharbel and I had a conversation, I was facing foreclosure, and I ended up doing a short sale. So Sharbel and I had that conversation, and William didn't realize this was me and William's catch-up conversation. I don't think he realized when we were. I didn't say it outright, but William and I used to date. So I've got 2 exes on here, but that's okay. But William didn't realize how bad my situation was. And I did rent out my condo. To Sharbel's point about how do you face those situations? My ex-husband would be really frustrated with me because he's like, TeMeka, I'm from New York. You should be renting this place out. And I was like, I've got so much on my plate and on my mind. You figure that out. And it hit the point where, the HOA kept taking ownership and taking the rent that I was getting from my tenants to pay off my HOA fees because I wasn't charging enough for rent. So then I ended up doing a short sale so that I wouldn't go into bankruptcy. And that's how I avoided bankruptcy, because I didn't want bankruptcy on my credit. And my parents always taught me, your credit is everything. Like in finance, your word is your bond. You don't ruin your good name. And people have done it. I'm not knocking anyone who's had a bankruptcy. I'm not knocking anyone who's gone through foreclosure because, like I said, I was facing it myself. But what I will say is you got to open your mouth. If you're facing foreclosure and you have family members that may potentially assist, and maybe they're going to swoop in and buy your property to talk about legacy and family, let them do that. Because I have a grandmother in California who has since passed, a great-grandmother, let me correct myself, who let a home in Berkeley, California. And if you know anything about the California market and how much those properties are worth and how much you have to live in California, for her to let that place go into foreclosure and let us lose that family legacy out of pride and out of wanting to support herself, we were all kind of like, man, I wish she would have said something. My dad was working as an executive, and yes, to support 5 kids on an income over 100,000 sounds fabulous and wonderful, but it was a stretch for my parents at times, and people don't realize that. When you got 5 kids or 6 kids or 7 kids or 8 kids, you feel like you're living check to check. So I say that in full disclosure to say you've got to get creative. You've got to open your mouth. It's a pride thing. Do you think it was ever easy for me to go to my parents and say, hey, my mom's seeing checks bounce and she's like, hey, Mika needs help. And my dad's cut me a $10,000 check. Like, does this relieve your stress? It does, but it ain't going to fix how deep I'm in. So I'm going to put my business out there because I tell people all the time, I own my truth. And I do it because I want people to not face the things I've faced. So we're 53 minutes in. If I let the podcast go over, I think, 1 hour and 10, I won't be able to post it. So this is our final opportunity to do self-promotion. So any events you guys have coming up, anything on your heart that you feel like people really will benefit from based on primarily real estate, but we touched on real estate and finances and health and wellness because it's all connected. So this is everyone here who I want to thank from the bottom of my heart for taking the time out of your day, joining me for happy hour. I finished my drink, y'all. I don't know about you. I'm almost like we need a shot of clock. If you Ty's from my virtual day parties family. I'm doing her birthday party as a Zoom event. So when I say I do a lot of different things, I do a lot of different things. I want y'all to go ahead, promote yourselves, and take this opportunity to use this platform for that. And this is my baby who just had babies last night, and I didn't fully know she was pregnant. Where Why are you out here? Go feed your babies.
TeMeka, I want to say thank you so much for allowing me to be on here. Guys, it was a pleasure. William, Drew, thank you so much, guys. And I got a newborn that I gotta help wifey go bathe and put her down.
Congratulations.
But, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
And definitely, anyone that has any questions, please follow me on my Instagram, Sharbel Shamoon. Reach out, any questions. If you're looking to buy in the next 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, the more preparation, the more questions, like William said, put the right team around you, ask a lot of questions, educate yourself, and just be ready, guys.
Yes, sir.
All right. And the name of your foundation that you're on the board of again, one more time.
That's Imerman Angels. IMERMAN Angels. ImmermanAngels.com, located, it's founded in Chicago, but they are international. They're in almost every country in the world.
Awesome. Okay.
Bet.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Likewise.
And I truly tell your wife thank you for sharing you.
Anytime. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
You too.
All right. William, you want to go? Drew, who wants to go next?
Yeah, I appreciate you letting me in and listening, and these guys are very insightful. And I guess what I would the takeaway that I have, I can kind of share my strategy with everybody. It's good to hear that there's a different avenue for everybody to go down. One of the avenues that I'm taking for myself is, turn your earned income. I work in healthcare, so my goal is to take my earned income, which is the highest taxed of income. When you go to work every day, that's the highest taxed income, and you want to turn that into portfolio income, which is stocks or cryptocurrency and things like that. And you want to take your portfolio income and turn it into passive income. And that's what the topic of this discussion is about, is real estate. And the best form of passive income is real estate. So if anybody, just kind of wants to have a path to follow, that's, it's a different way to get there for everybody, but that's the path I'm on, is taking earned income to portfolio income to passive income. So it's just nice to hear everyone's approach, and I hope whoever's listening can take away some helpful advice.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Drew. I really appreciate it.
Yep.
All right. Go ahead, William.
God is good.
All the time.
Hicks Real Estate Investments, the HRE Foundation, WH Productions. Turn earned income into passive income.
And check out William's classes. Apparently, he gave y'all something for free that he charges a lot of money for. And I didn't expect that. I don't ask people specifics. I just say, hey, we know each other. You're knowledgeable. Let's help other people. Let's love one another by inspiring, teaching, so that we can all evolve and make sure we get out of this pandemic at some point in time.
Exactly.
We've been in it way too long. So we're at 58 minutes. I want you guys to like, subscribe, comment, share. I forgot to mention share. And also ring the notification bell. But if you can't afford merch, I want you to know that I give merch away for free. I'm sure that William gives stuff away for free. Every company, as part of your marketing tools, you give freebies out. So don't ever hesitate to reach out to someone who says, hey, I have a sponsorship. I might have tickets. I don't know if I'm going to use them or not. And a lot of times in those instances, it's going to be kind of a last minute thing. But if you have flexibility because you lost your job, because you got to find childcare, whatever the case may be, open your mouth up, speak up, let your voice be heard, and we might be able to help you. But closed mouths don't get fed, right? That's how the saying goes. So I appreciate you all for tuning in. I appreciate all my guests. I don't know why God has blessed me this way, but I'm thankful for it. And I practice gratitude. I practice meditation. I love the Calm app. And I love the circle that I have, because it's been rough lately. And without them, I don't know how I would find the strength. It takes a village, and it takes the faith of a mustard seed, and let it grow. So I'll close with that. Anything else you want to add, William?
Tell your mom, dad, or brothers I say hi.
I sure will. So just so you know, William, too, this studio, once I remove us from the stream, we can stay on and chat. But we are closing out. I want you guys to remember that you can share this as much as you'd like. I didn't even use any music today. I didn't do intro music or outro music because some of my stuff has been blocked. So I hope to see you guys at Silver Room Block Party. That's my next event coming up, the 16th and 17th at Oakwood Beach in Chicago, Illinois. Used to be in Hyde Park, but join us. I'll be sharing my podcast, and I hope you guys have a great night. We are going to end our broadcast and be in studio and hang out. So have a good night, y'all.
Go support.
Go support.